Greetings all, I'm Staff Sergeant Taylor, our agency's Basic Detention Officer School Director. Thank you for logging into Power DMS to complete this course. As a disclaimer, this course was pulled from DOCC's latest version of note-taking and report writing. It's just a refresher. For those of you who came through DOCC, you recognize that this is an 8-hour course. On today, it will not be an 8-hour course. So let's do this. As a sheriff's office, we face an enormous amount of scrutiny from both the public and fellow criminal justice officers. We're constantly bombarded with rapidly evolving type situations almost daily. If you're taking this course right now, it is so important that you understand you have a legal and ethical responsibility to make sure you follow through on all incidents you find yourself involved in. Please follow this course attentively and think about how you can improve on your own writing skills, or maybe even help a fellow officer improve on their skills. One of the ways you can stay ahead of liability issues or quickly dismiss any erroneous claims is by having strong report writing skills. Reports are how most cases can be won as well as lost. Camera footage is a wonderful thing, but imagine having that camera footage accompanied by a solid report. It could be a career saver. As an officer, a great deal of your time is spent documenting incidents and writing reports. So your ability to exchange thoughts and information in writing is a skill that we all must possess. The responsibility for effective written communication rests directly with you, the writer. So as an officer, you must make every effort to write in such clarity and simplicity that the reader can understand, regardless of their lack of knowledge of the situation, the environment you were in, and everyone who was involved. Let this refresher we're having on note-taking and report writing serve as a reminder of how important it is for us to write detailed statements, articulate our actions, describe why we made the decisions we made, articulate our feelings associated with use of force events. It takes knowledge, time, and practice to develop this skill. Again, this is a refresher course. The lesson plan attached to this has 8 objectives. For the purpose of today's course and refresher, you have 5 objectives. Explain the importance of field notes and how they are used in developing a report. List the purpose for preparing a report. Identify common errors found in incident and use of force reports. Identify the requirements of report writing. And finally, explain the values of proofreading. If you'll recall, when you initially took this course of note-taking and report writing, the instructor showed you how to use a notepad and how to keep one on your person at all times for your own personal notes. Those notes are the basis for your report. They assist you in your memory of specific details such as names, dates of birth, cell numbers. If you take neat notes and accurate, and they're subpoenaed into court, they add to your level of credibility and demonstrate your high level of proficiency and professionalism. A good defense attorney may attempt to develop impeachable inconsistencies between your notes and your report. So it's time to write a report, and you don't quite know how to start your report. Well, scratch outlining is where you should begin. It's a formal way of taking notes that helps you structure the body of your report. If you are struggling to get your report started, to keep up with all the details, to know what to put in, what not to put in, start with a scratch outline. Scratch outline has a key sentence followed by supporting points. Here's an example. Officer Cleveland charged inmate Hodges with simple assault. Supporting points. Victim saw Hodges. Hodges struggled with Officer Cleveland. Cleveland sprayed Hodges. Hodges had the victim's ID card. Hodges was decontaminated. Pull all those points together into a solid paragraph, and you have the beginnings of your report. Keep it simple. Let's say you received a complaint from an inmate. You called medical. They stated he would not receive any medications. He has had all his medications for the day. He is done for the week. The main things you want to write in your logbook is the name of the officer or the name of the nurse that you spoke with, the date, the time, how the notification was made, the fact that you called them on the phone, you received this information via phone. Record the when, the where, who, what, why, how, and of the actual complaint if possible. Full identity of all persons on scene or who you spoke with on the phone. What was the name of the nurse? Was it a nurse or was it a med tech? Be specific. Maybe it was a different type of scenario. Maybe it was a situation where you needed to record the weather conditions that may have been affecting the scene or evidence. How was security established? Record the location, the position of the victim, witnesses, and suspects. What medical assistance was needed and how? Who? And when was it administered? Let's say the incident that your report is on happened outside. It would be important for you to make observations of the entire scene, fully describing all the evidence and the pertinent items at the scene by name, appearance, location, and approximate distances, describing the lighting inside and outside. Describe all the entrances and exits. Describe all the apparent damage to property, equipment, or persons. Describe the presence or absence of sign of violence. Note all wounds and bruises. Record statements by witnesses, victims, or suspects. Record how evidence was preserved. Arrange for recovery projectiles, clothing, hair, sand, blood, etc. Again, this is a refresher course. Let's think about some ways that our reports are being used. When you write a report documenting a criminal act, that report becomes the basis for coordinating the completion of an investigation and prosecution of a crime. It is also used to gain information for statistical reporting and crime analysis. Whether the investigation is conducted by you or a general investigator, the original crime report is a source document. Let's not forget newspapers and media. Reports are available to the press and the media. The result is they read exactly what you have written, including your misspellings and grammatical errors. Reference materials. Because reports are permanent documents, they provide an excellent source of historical information. They may be used to document the agency's actions, refresh your memory, or determine liability. Reports are used for maintaining records for statistics and to evaluate policies. Your report serves as documentation of the department's actions, whether it be about the department itself, about the officer, or about the inmate. Sheriff's officers are typically reactive, so we're documenting the actions that we took, our responsiveness to the community, the jail, and the staff. They often serve as some sort of action that we've taken against an inmate in regards to disciplinary or safety hazards or breaches of security. We also use these reports for officer evaluation. Now, it's common for supervisors to use reports to evaluate an officer's performance or even an inmate's performance or that inmate's behavior. When you are creating your report, think about who your audience is. It could be other sheriff's offices, an attorney, jurors, administrators, medical professionals, other corrections agencies, insurance companies, the media, regulatory agencies. These are persons who can put you out there in a fashion that could be positive or negative. So think about who's reading what you're writing. Think about some of the common errors that we're finding in our reports, things that are easily correctable, not enough information, misspelling, verbal statements. You're not including your verbal commands. You're not quoting. If there was resistance, you're not writing down the justifications for the force that you used. Officers' actions, you're being too vague in what you're writing. You're not sharing or articulating your fears and perceptions that you had in the moment. You're not writing your statements, or you're not making your narrative in order, in chronological order. Remember, you're writing for someone who wasn't there, who needs to get a vivid picture of what you felt, what you were going through, a understanding of why you were making the decisions you were making. We're going to look at the characteristics of a well-written report. To properly and completely relate an ideal incident or event, information and data have to be collected to provide answers to certain basic questions that must be organized, and nothing should be omitted that has anything to do with the matter at hand. Those basic questions which must be answered are known as essentials of report writing. The organization of those essentials is known as the requirements of report writing. The essentials of a well-written report: who, what, where, when, how, why, and actions taken. If you fail to answer any of these questions, go back and review your scratch outline and see what you may have left out. It could be that you didn't witness a particular thing, so of course you would omit that. When the information, data, and the contents answer as many of the essentials as possible, the report is beginning to take shape and taking on a meaning. So your next step is to organize and check against the 6 requirements of report writing. Those 6 requirements are being complete, thorough, concise, clear, correct, and courteous. First off, out of these 6 requirements, the easiest requirement to cover is being correct, using proper grammar and spelling, being neat, giving accurate information. That's something that can be done with simple proofreading and spell check on your computer. But the other mistake that we often have is being concise, getting to the point, making every sentence count, and avoiding repeating points. You don't need to include information that's not specific to the incident. Keep it concise. Think out your report before you write it. Don't use unnecessary words or use irrelevant details. Don't report ideals. Use simple words. Sometimes people get editorialish, if you will, being too wordy. For example, the officer arrived first to the incident, immediately began to perform CPR on the inmate. At the same time, another secured the housing unit. A more concise way to state that would have been: the first officer to arrive performed CPR, while the second officer secured the housing unit. Putting it all together. So when you get ready to put your whole report together as a unit of thought, a paragraph may be complete in itself or part of a longer piece of writing. An effective paragraph introduces one main idea and develops it clearly by presenting additional, more specific information. The ideals are arranged in chronological order and smoothly connected. Also, when the ideals change, a new paragraph should be started. Looking at each paragraph, the topic sentence. The topic sentence controls the content of the other sentences by focusing on one particular aspect of the topic. Often, the topic sentence is the first sentence of the paragraph. Placing the topic sentence at the beginning helps for the reader by giving them a clear idea of what's going to be discussed in the paragraph. Stating the main idea at the beginning also helps the writer keep in mind the idea they are going to develop. And then you want to go on to your supporting sentences. The other sentences in the paragraph must give enough details to make the main idea clear. In general, 3 or more details, facts, examples, reasons, etc. are needed to develop a main idea adequately. The supporting sentences should present additional, more specific information, not just repeat the main idea in different words. Also, in order not to confuse your reader or yourself, you'll need to write the events in chronological order. It's natural to arrange the events in a story or an incident in which they happen, chronological order. Chronological order is also used to explain a process with the steps in the process arranged in the order in which they must be carried out. So in conclusion, when you close out your report, at the end of each paragraph, a concluding sentence should be included. A concluding sentence may restate the paragraph's main idea. It also may summarize the paragraph's main points, revealing insight the writers gain, or suggest an action. So if you could read the previous slide, you understand, or you should understand, the importance of proofreading. Proofreading involves a careful line by line reading of your report. You may want to even proofread your report with a ruler so that you can focus on one line at a time. An effective proofreading technique is to read your final draft out loud to yourself or to a friend. This can help you hear and see errors that might have slipped past your notice. Oftentimes, we find ourselves writing how we talk. How you talk doesn't necessarily translate well when it comes to a report that you might submit to your supervisor or that might be reviewed by an attorney. Your ability to document accurately and thoroughly is vital. Your accuracy and the clear way you document can save time, money, and manpower for your department or for our office. Writing requires practice. Efficient writing style is neither fancy nor impressive. Instead, it is straightforward, easy to follow, and understandable. So I held up my end of the bargain. It wasn't 8 hours. Short and sweet, right? You received some reminders about some important things to consider when writing your report. Sadly, the report is often neglected. It's the best weapon we have when it comes to saving our what. It'd be a shame to be on the stand and the DA return your report unusable. Your report is a reflection of not only you, but your supervisor, your department. If your report can't stand up to the question of an attorney, what does that say about you and your efforts and how you feel about the level of liability that we have as officers? Very important. Take the time to print out the lesson plan attached to this and review it. Put it in your notes, put it in your files, pull it out when you're trying to create scratch notes, when you're trying to complete your use of force. Think about how you're using your words. Think about the importance of proofreading. Don't just slop through it. Take pride in the reports that you submit. Because one day it may save your career. And after all, if you didn't write it down, it didn't happen. Now, once we're done, you have a test, a celebration of knowledge, if you will. Good luck.